Hello, I'm Mike, and this is a quick tutorial on 3 things I wish I'd known about Sony Vegas when I started using it a year and a half ago. Those things being window layout and docking, auto ripple, and batch rendering. Windows layouts and docking. So Sony Vegas allows you to customize how your workspace looks to better suit what you're working on. You do that by looking at this corner up here. Each one of these has this. You look at this little subsection for the master bus. It has it, and this panel has it. This one, the trimmer, and these over here add them as well. Let's look at this one here. There's an X that makes the thing go away. There's an arrow that makes it bigger or smaller, and there's these dots here. So this X, make it go away. You look over here, this is the same thing as I've said. These dots let you undock it. You can also make it bigger. I accidentally selected a trimmer there. So you can have this floating around. Maybe you want to put this on a second monitor. It would be a better idea to put maybe the preview window on a different monitor, but you can put this one too as well. Maybe you have a lot of audio tracks open and you want that on a separate monitor. You could do that, or you just want it floating around. To dock this again, you hold it, the right mouse button, and a little, I don't know what you would call that, but a little bar comes up there. It says, hold control to dock window. And once you hold control, it's docked there. It's a little bit finicky. There we go. And now we move that over to the other side of the screen. These tabs over here, transition, video effects, explorer, project media, you can undock these as well. So maybe let's put this over here where the other one was, if it'll let me. So like I said, a little bit finicky. Come on. There we go. And now we completely rearranged our workspace. You can also move this part down here, wherever you want as well. And that's really useful depending on what you're working on. Some projects you need certain parts to be bigger than others. Like I often need this master bus open so I can see where my audio is heading. Or maybe I want this part over here bigger because I have a lot of video clips and I want to see them all. But once you did this to your workspace, as you get back to default, and there's a quick way of doing that, is you go into the view menu, you go to Windows layout, and you go default. And you're right back to how it looked when you started using the program. As you see, there are a few other options there. You can save the layout. So let's go to one I have saved, this one. So things are a little bit different. I have this pulled out more. Actually, things are just a little bit bigger, but it's different from default. And there's a shortcut associated, Alt plus D, Alt plus D1, and this one there, color correction, Alt plus D7. There's an organized layout, so if you want to delete one of the layouts you created, or you want to move them so that they're on a different shortcut key, you can do that. You see replace is there too, or you can open the containing folder. Maybe you want to import a layout, or maybe you add some save layouts. That lets you do that. There are also some basic layouts that Vegas have for you. Audio mixing. Put this tab over here, and the other one was color correction. Color correction. So I remember first when I started using this program, I accidentally exited a window, or I moved one, and then I found it really difficult to get the program back to how it looked, or get the window back. Like if you exit this, how do you get that back? So that is how you customize your layout for Sony Vegas and get it back to default if you screw things up. Auto ripple. Auto ripple is a little button down here with a green square on it. Auto ripple. Shortcut is Control plus L. automatically move the contents of the timeline after performing edits that add or remove time. So what that means is that when I click on a clip, the clips after it, I didn't actually click on the button, the clips after it move in sync. So you see that gap there is preserved. If I make some more gaps, they all move nicely in sync. With that turned off, they all move individually. So when you're editing, let's put this back together first. If you were to create a subclip, or rather split a clip and then delete it, with that turned off, a gap stays and nothing else moves. Let's undo that. With that turned on, when you delete it, things behind it move forward and they don't overlap, but there's no gap there anymore. So things behind it all move forward. I usually edit with auto ripple turned off. So if I make a clip, things behind it don't move forward. And the reason I do that is that sometimes when you have multiple clips around, say I have one down here and one up here, they move in unexpected ways. And you delete this and a clip down here moves too far forward and one up here moves backwards. So I turn that off, make my split, turn it back on, usually with the hotkey rather than clicking on it, and then move everything. So moving things with it turned off is a great way of accidentally making something overlap or leaving a tiny gap. If you have a huge project, you might not notice that little tiny gap. But like I said, I usually edit with auto ripple turned off so that I don't have clips moving around that in unexpected ways. The only thing that moves is when I make it move. But auto ripple is an extremely useful feature, and I really wish I knew about it first when I started using the program, because I was doing it all the hard way, making clips accidentally overlap, leaving little gaps, and then I would go back and re-edit the video. Batch rendering. Batch rendering is a way of rendering multiple videos on a single timeline. So let's say I've been recording for a while and I end up with a project that looks like this. This is an hour and 45 minutes long, so it's much too long for my purposes, which is YouTube. So I want to edit this down and turn it into multiple videos. So let's say after doing that, I end up with 4 videos. To set this up so that each becomes their own video, you click and drag from the start to the end of the clip. Zoom in so that it makes sure that the arrow is actually at the beginning and the end of the clip, because you don't want the beginning or the end to be clipped off, missing scenes. And then hover over the top part, press R. Ooh, I pressed E by mistake. I'll call this dark one because I'm playing Dark Souls, and then you do that to the next one. Oops. And again, zoom in to make sure that the arrow is actually at the beginning and the end, and then name it Dark 2. So let's say right now I want these 2 videos rendered, but not these 2. So you can do that. First, I want you to go to File and go to Render As. We're not going to actually render the video in this step, but I want you to look at your settings. So for mine it says Main Concept AVC AAC, and what I usually use is YouTube Video HD 1080. Now keep that in mind. Push Cancel. Now go to Tools, go to Scripting, and go to Batch Render. Now the reason I told you to remember those things in the last step is so that you can find it here. So mine are right here, Main Concept AVC AAC. Expand it with a plus. Tick it off. And down here you have to change something again. Render Project would render this entire project with the gaps between it. So you would get a massive 6-hour video with this one, and there would be these big blank gaps in between each one. I've done that before. Don't do it yourself. What we want is render regions, because we just created 2 regions. And selecting this off, these 2 regions will be rendered and nothing else will. And you go browse and put your save where you want it to be rendered. I'm not going to push OK because if I take my recording, but then you go push OK and it'll start rendering as normal. It'll render that first video, this one here, and then it'll render that second one. What I usually do is, as I've done here, of course I would do much more editing, but I set this up to render multiple videos, and then I go to bed and I wake up and I have multiple videos rendered and ready to upload. So that is a huge time saver in my opinion. I was doing it a hard, stupid way in the beginning where I would make multiple saves and then delete parts, and then make another save and so on. So this is a huge time saver. So this has been 3 things I wish I knew when I started using Sony Vegas. In the near future, I'll be doing more tutorials like this one, so be on the lookout for those. Or check out my other tutorials on virtual audio cables and OBS. I have links in the description. I hope you found it helpful. If you have any comments or questions, or just want to say hi, drop me a line here or on Twitter. Once again, thanks for watching, and see you later. Wow, he jiggles. He jiggles when he wiggles. I'm here. Let me in.
Okay.
What do you give me, guy? A dung pie. Thank you. That's exactly what I always wanted. A dung pie from a stranger. Well, I wouldn't want it from family either. Oh, I saw that. Do you see that? There's a person there. Common sense would indicate that I don't go that way, but game logic indicates that I am. Oh. I don't know where you came from, but go back there. Woo, woo, woo. Was that a hologram or was that something awful?